Hello, word listeners. Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Alex, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this linguistic journey. Today, we're diving into a fascinating word, consider. It's an A2 level verb, and it means to think about something carefully. So, what does it really mean to consider something? It means to give it some thought, to weigh the pros and cons, and to carefully examine the different aspects involved. It's not just a passing thought, but a more deliberate and thoughtful process. For example, you might consider your options before making a big decision, or you might consider someone's feelings before speaking. In everyday language, consider is used quite frequently. You'll hear people saying things like, "I need to consider that," or "Have you considered this?" Let's look at some synonyms for consider. A good synonym is deliberate. You might say, "I need to deliberate on this matter before making a decision." Another synonym is contemplate. For example, she contemplated the vastness of the universe. And another useful synonym is reflect. You could say, he needed time to reflect on his mistakes. See how each of these words carries a similar meaning to consider, but with slightly different nuances? Now, let's flip the coin and look at some antonyms, words with the opposite meaning of consider. One antonym is disregard. For example, he disregarded the warning signs and proceeded anyway. Another antonym is ignore. She chose to ignore his rude behavior. And finally, let's use neglect. They neglected to consider the consequences of their actions. The antonyms highlight the importance of paying attention and giving thought to something, in contrast to ignoring or dismissing it. So, how can you use consider in your daily life? Well, imagine you're planning a vacation. You might say to your friend, "Let's consider all the possible destinations before booking anything." Or, let's say your friend offers you a job. You might respond, "I need some time to consider the offer." It's also used in common expressions. Take it into consideration means to keep something in mind when making a decision. Someone might say, "Please take my age into consideration when you evaluate my application." Here are some more usage examples. I'm considering buying a new car. Have you considered the cost of living in that city? The jury will consider the evidence before reaching a verdict. We need to consider all the factors involved before making a decision. She is considering a career change. The company is considering expanding its operations. He asked me to consider his proposal. I will consider your suggestion. They're considering the possibility of moving abroad. Let's try some phrases. After careful consideration. On further consideration. For your consideration. Under consideration. Worth considering. So, to recap, consider means to think about something carefully, to give it due attention, and to weigh the different aspects involved. We explored synonyms like deliberate, contemplate, and reflect, and antonyms like disregard, ignore, and neglect. We also saw how you can use consider in everyday conversations and common expressions. That brings us to the end of another episode of Hello Word. Thank you for joining me today as we explored the word consider. I hope you found it helpful and informative. Before we go, I have a small request. If you enjoy our podcast, please consider subscribing and leaving a review. Your support helps others find the show, and it motivates us to keep bringing you more vocabulary adventures. And now for today's challenge. I encourage you to create your own sentence using the word consider and share it as a comment under the video. We'd love to see how you're using this word in your own language learning journey. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Until then, keep learning and keep exploring the wonderful world of words.